Hi, my name is Dana, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Electoral College. Before I get to my main claim, I want to give you a little overview of how the Electoral College works, just in case you don't already know. In December, 538 representatives from all the states go to Washington to vote in our next president. And what this means is that in November, when you go to the polls and vote for your favorite candidate, you're not actually voting for McCain or Obama. You're voting for a representative to go to Washington to carry your vote there. And like I said, it's 538 representatives for all the states, and I'm going to refer to them the rest of the speech as electoral votes. So 270 electoral votes are required for a presidential candidate to become president. And if they don't get 270 votes, then the legislature will appoint the president. So now that I've given you a brief overview about what the Electoral College is, I'm on to my main claim, which is the Electoral College is obsolete. My 3 points on that are the majority of Americans are dissatisfied with the process. 2, the Electoral College, encourages campaigns to ignore large portions of the country. And finally, the Electoral College discourages voter participation. So back to my first point, the majority of Americans are dissatisfied with the process. Roger L. McBride states in his 1963 book, The American Electoral College, says, designed as it was to deprive Congress and voters of total power over the election. So it was designed to deprive voters of power over the election. And back when it was designed, that might have made sense, because with the lack of communication that we have today, voters were not as informed as we have the ability to be now. My next, Judith quotes in her 1976 book, The Case Against Direct Election of the President, a defense for the Electoral College. She says, the framers might be amazed to find the Electoral College is still in operation. It was a compromise and perhaps even an improvisation that over the years has taken on the aura of a political monument. Yet it is a controversial and criticized and poorly understood monument. Finally, in a news release in 2001, Gallup poll news release, Frank Newport writes, in Gallup polls that stretch back over 50 years, a majority of Americans have continually expressed support for the notion of an official amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would allow for direct election of presidents. So the majority of the American public is dissatisfied with the process and would like a new one. Now on to my second point, the Electoral College encourages campaigns to ignore large portions of the country. I have 3 quotes from George C. Edwards' 2004 book, Why the Electoral College is Bad for America. First, he states 17 of the 28 smallest states had no visits from electoral candidates. Second, he points out in 2000, for example, the 3 largest states were not competitive on the presidential level and were largely ignored by the candidates. So if you're too small to be competitive, then the presidential candidates don't come. And if you're large, but they feel you've already determined who that state is going to vote for, they don't consider you competitive and they don't visit often. Finally, he sums it up with what actually happens is that the Electoral College distorts the political process by providing an incentive to visit competitive states, especially large competitive states. Thus, the citizens of New Mexico and Iowa, with a total of 12 electoral votes, receive as many visits as the other 28 of the 30 smallest states combined. So you can see where a large portion of the country is being ignored by the campaign. To my third and final point, the Electoral College distorts voter participation, discourages voter participation, I again turn to George C. Edwards' book, and his quote, the operation of the winner-take-all system effectively disenfranchises voters who support losing candidates in each state. And to make this clearer, I have another quote from him. In the 2000 presidential election, nearly 3 million people voted for Al Gore for president in Florida. Because George Bush won 537 more than Gore, however, he received all of Florida's votes. So even though almost about half the state of Florida voted for Al Gore, all of Florida's votes went to Bush, and that's the way it works in all but 3 of our states. So you can see where voters may feel like their vote doesn't count. And finally, Judith, again in her book, The Case Against Direct Election of the President, A Defense of the Electoral College, is quoted as saying, Alaska may get 1 electoral vote for every 40,000 popular voter, whereas Minnesota may get 1 electoral vote for every 200,000 popular voters. So you can see where you might feel, in the larger states you feel your vote doesn't count. So that's why the Electoral College discourages voter participation. So in conclusion, my main claim is the Electoral College, which I can't say today, is obsolete. My key points are the majority of Americans are dissatisfied with the process. The Electoral College encourages campaigns to ignore large portions of the country, and the Electoral College discourages voter participation.